Good evening, everyone. So, 14 years ago, I was sitting in a hospital room feeling grumpy. My mom was pregnant and going into labor, but that didn't matter to me because I was only 3 years old and I hadn't eaten dinner yet. Now, my grandparents, who live 45 minutes away from the hospital, were driving all the way over there to pick me up, so I didn't have to spend the night there. When they finally arrived, I walked straight up to my grandfather and demanded, "What took you so long?" My grandfather told me. He was about to explain how he rushed out of the house as soon as he could and how traffic prevented them from arriving sooner, only to stop himself because he realized he was in fact about to explain all this to a 3-year-old. I went home with them that night, only to come back the next day to meet and hold my baby sister for the first time. And to this day, I cannot imagine life without her. Just don't tell her that. So today is holding a baby is something at present which truly terrifies me. For when you hold a newborn for the first time, you can truly appreciate the preciousness and frailty of life. However, countless of people have never met their siblings, and countless of mothers have never held their child due to the choice of abortion. It wasn't until a few years ago that I discovered what abortion truly was, and I wasn't motivated to take a stand against it until I realized the magnitude of this practice, until I realized the impact that it had on so many lives. Now, I truly want to live by a quote by Pope Francis that the right to life is the first human right, and abortion is killing someone that cannot defend him or herself. So I've been involved in speech and debate for the past 3 years now, and I'm quite good at debate, or at least I like to think I am, because I like to argue. And I've gotten into many arguments with my peers over this past year about pro-life or pro-choice. And the biggest argument I see for pro-choice is it's not a human being, it's just a growth, it's no different than a tumor. And this is an argument that I go back and forth on with them for hours on end. However, something that they don't account for is what I'm going to be talking about today. Is the impact of abortion, whether it's a life or not, whatever you want to imagine it is. I believe that it's a life. But I'm going to tell you about the impact about abortion in and of itself. So to start off, I'm going to start off with another quote from Johnny Erickson Tata, that if you truly believe in the value of life, you'll care about all the weakest and most vulnerable members of society. And this is true. The magnitude of abortion has expanded over the last few years. In 1962, there were 292 reported abortions in the United States. However, after Roe versus Wade in 1973, abortion rates skyrocketed, reaching 1 to 1.5 million every year since then. 1 to 1.5 million every year since then. We've allowed this form of genocide to occur in our own country because we haven't valued the unborn. Now, out of that 1 to 1.5 million every year, about 1,200, according to LifeSite News, 1,200 survive the procedure. 1,200 fetuses survive and go on to be born after that. According to the website teambreaks.com, 3 types of abortion survivors exist. First, those that outright survive the abortion. They are born despite the efforts to destroy them. Then second are twin survivors, or someone who was born, but their twin died in effects of the abortion. And the third are sibling survivors, or people who would have had a brother or sister, but they were aborted. So I'd like to share the story of Melissa Odom. Her mother attempted to abort her through the use of a saline abortion in 1977. Saline abortion is where a solution is injected into the womb and is meant to poison the unborn child. Melissa survived this and was born despite the efforts to destroy her. However, she was literally thrown away. A nurse found her crying in a trash can and saved her life. She brought her to a hospital so that she would recover from the abortion attempt. And Melissa was put up for adoption, where she was later adopted by a loving family. She didn't survive. She didn't realize that she was a survivor of abortion. She wasn't told until she was 14 years old. She later went on to have a daughter of her own in the same hospital where she was supposed to lose her life. Both of those factors combined drove Melissa to become a driving force for the pro-life movement. She's made appearances on television and on radio, advocating a pro-life stance. However, not all survivors are as fortunate as Melissa. There are countless stories out there of survivors who have died because of what they went through, the trauma that they went through at birth. Now those that survive to adulthood, many of them, again, aren't as fortunate as Melissa because they have scars. They're physically or mentally scarred. They're disabled. Now this abortion is something that has an impact not only though the lives that are killed, but also those that survive as well. But it doesn't only impact the child, but it impacts the parents as well. For the mothers, they're driven to suicide in some instances because they realize what they've done. They're not told by abortion clinics about what they're going to go through, about the life that's growing inside them. And it's depressing. It's something that they look back on with regret. And same with fathers as well. Fathers go through depression when they realize that they never had a child. One man has stated that he will never overcome the pain he feels because he was unable to save his child. Now, there are people out there who value life, who want to do something to change the status quo. There are people out there who will go outside of abortion clinics and set up mobile sonograms to show expectant mothers a picture of their unborn child. Because studies have shown that the more educated a woman is about the life going inside her, the less likely she is to have, much less support on abortion. Now there's an organization called Birthright that reaches out to expectant mothers, that will offer them any help they can, whether it's legal aid, financial aid, or help in education, because they don't want to get an abortion, because they know that this is something that will impact them and their child for the rest of their lives. There's another website, called LifeCall, that will direct expectant mothers to shelters, whether they're trying to get out of an abusive situation or just need somewhere to give birth and raise their child in a safe environment. Their website says, "We are praying for you and your unborn child. God is watching over you. Do not abort your child. This is something you cannot undo. Come to us, contact with us, and ask us for help." So, all of this brings me to my conclusion. Now, these survivors of abortion, these survivors that have survived this horrible experience, are a great example of what we're being called to do. They give a voice to the voiceless. And that's what all of us need to do here today. So to conclude, I'd like to end on a note of happiness. According to the Guttmacher Institute, abortion rates are at an all-time low, with the approval rating falling even more. The war against abortion has already begun. All that remains is for us, for all of us, to finish it off once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Fine job. Next.